This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, a lot of you guys would have seen the interview on IFL TV yesterday with Frank Warren. And to be fair, it was a pretty good interview. And Frank Warren said a lot of things that I agree with in this interview as well as. But of course, he can't go through an interview without having some kind of dig at Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn. It just is what it is. And yes, I have seen Eddie Hearn's video where he says that Frank Warren said that if Eddie Hearn was his son, he'd have given him a slap or something like that. And Eddie Hearn responded in that video, well, if I was his son, his financial situation wouldn't be how it is, so he probably wishes that he was his son. Below the belt? Certainly, of course. But anyway, within this video of Frank Warren, he said that April 13th is coincidentally a date that Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, the rematch, is what they're looking at. Is he serious? I'm not too sure if he's serious. Obviously, April the 13th is a booked date for Anthony Joshua to have his next fight, whoever it may be, at Wembley Stadium. So Frank Warren says, what, April 13th? Well, that's the date that we're looking at. Why is he saying this? For a couple of reasons. Number one, because Eddie Hearn made White versus Chisora Part 2 on December 22nd when Warrington versus Frampton was already booked. But as I said to you guys way before, we always knew that Dylan White was going to fight on this day, just that it took a very, very long time for it to be announced because they couldn't get the signature of Derek Chisora over the line. So this date was always going to happen. But Frank Warren is upset about it because that is the fight that most people will buy the pay-per-view for. I suppose real hardcore fans will look at two Brits for a world title and say, well, that's the one I want to watch for Warrington and Frampton. Hey, listen. People can do whatever they want to do, okay? So Frank Warren is a bit bitter about it, and to be fair, probably rightfully so. So is he serious about making Wilder versus Fury Part 2 on April the 13th? Why to hijacked the Anthony Joshua one? For me, no, he's not serious. For a couple of reasons. Number one, if he did, then his pay-per-view sales for Wilder versus Fury is going to be depleted. I'm not going to say that it's not going to do better than what Joshua versus whoever it may be. If it's Joshua versus Miller, Joshua versus White, Joshua versus whoever. Okay, that event will do well, and it would suffer, but also Wilder versus Fury would also suffer. So, of course, it would make sense to do them both on separate days to maximise as much revenue as they possibly can. So, Frank Warren isn't that stupid. But ultimately, if he did do it, listen, bravo. Bravo to him. I mean, why not? Why not? All's fair in love and war, right? As much as I don't like the fact that White and Chisora and Warrington and Frampton are on the same day, I don't like it at all. But why should one do just because the other one has or hasn't or whatever it may be? And sometimes dates just clash. It just happens to be that Sky and whatever, this was the only date for the O2 Arena, was this one. Otherwise, it could be waiting a lot longer. Morally, I suppose maybe wait for another date. That's probably the moral thing to do, right? But ultimately, listen, it's why should Eddie Hearn care about what Frank Warren's doing? Why should Frank Warren care about what Eddie Hearn's doing? The only people who are really missing out are the fans, right? And for Frank Warren to complain and moan about these kind of things, it's not like he'd never done it himself. Of course he's done it himself. He's done it on plenty of occasions within the history of him being involved in boxing. But if he did make Wilder versus Fury on April the 13th, then first of all, that's great news because they've got the fight in the UK. Because if they did it in America, it isn't really going to mess up a Joshua pay-per-view. And a Joshua pay-per-view will always do great. And Wilder vs Fury Part 2, if it's in the UK, will also do great pay-per-view and great in attendance. But either way, if both of them are put on, both of the events are going to suffer. So I don't think Frank Warren's that serious. But if he did do it, listen, I have no issues with it at all. None whatsoever. Because it means that they have put the fight here in the UK. Because doing it in America isn't really going to affect here in the UK because of the time zones. And for us in the UK, pay-per-views are not that expensive. But as I did a video yesterday, other things when you factor in the fact that you've got Sky or you've got Virgin and all these other kind of things, the bill does top up. So, of course, when you're having to throw on an extra £20, it may only be £20, but it's still £20 that maybe we shouldn't have to pay. But if this fight happened, so be it. So be it. And to be honest, depending on who it is that Joshua's fighting, I don't know which one I'd choose. So either way, I don't think that Frank Warren would really do it. I mean, it will be a stupid move, especially for a mega event like that. Because let's be real and let's be brutally honest here. Warrington versus Frampton, while it's an excellent fight, and I love that fight, it's not pay-per-view. It really isn't pay-per-view, okay? But ultimately, it is what it is. You know, things happen in business. It just is what it is. So anyway, is Frank Warren serious April 13th? Of course he's not. It was tongue-in-cheek. Drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.